moved to Dallas. It was in South Dallas, Duncanville, Texas, right? And I literally, it was start Monday.
Yeah.
So this is now like Thursday. So I rented the hall, hooked up. I was driving a piece of shit Carmagia that barely drove.
Steve, I love your history of beaters.
I'm nothing but beaters. Nothing but beaters. You don't understand. Yeah. So that thing was a beater. So, but I didn't trust the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, rule number one is get to work.
Yeah.
Everything else will figure itself out, right? So, so I went looking for apartments that were walking distance. There's an apartment complex 2 blocks away.
When you start in a new city, rule number one is get to work.
Just get to work. Figure out how to get to work. And if you
Yeah.
don't have transportation you can trust,
then
you better
SOL.
live real close,
Yeah.
right? So I was looking at apartments that were walking distance, and
Gotcha.
I did. What I didn't know, because again, no internet,
Yeah.
no cell phones.
Get the library.
It was, yeah, look it up. It was an encyclopedia. So I had pulled into Dallas with my worldly belongings,
Yeah.
And my car in tow, and I'm looking for an apartment with U-Haul. So
Fun.
there was no calling ahead and having something situated.
Right.
So went to this apartment complex.
That's crazy. You didn't know where you're going to sleep. You
I had
drive
no
into
idea.
town.
I was like, I'll figure it out.
That's extraordinary.
Figure it out. And I figured it out. But the apartment complex I went to, see, I knew.
I get it. No, I
said
get it.
naive earlier.
Yeah.
I was very naive.
Yeah.
Okay. Still would prefer.
But
to be
I
more
think
naive.
that's necessary, especially when you're young, because like if you knew all the risk and you knew the bad potential things that could happen, you would never do anything.
You'd never do anything. You'd sleep under your mom's bed because
Exactly.
at least that was safe.
Right.
Right. Rent an apartment. It was a nice looking apartment complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go around, and you know what? Like I said, I was brought up in a multicultural area, so I really didn't pay attention to what the other people were like, because I'm like, I don't care. People are people, right?
Yeah.
It was an all-black complex,
Okay.
and I again didn't matter,
Right.
except for Southern black folk behaved differently.
Okay.
Right? And everyone was super friendly because I was a novelty.
Yeah.
Like I was like
California
come
boy.
hang out, California boy.
Yeah.
Clearly, like I'm in the hood,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they couldn't figure me out. So everyone's my friend, and it took me a while to figure out that I was such a novelty. There is because I didn't have an issue, and they could not figure out. They couldn't figure me out because I was just like.
Yeah, hey, what's up? Let's do it. This is normal. I'm not sensitive to the idea that I'm in a bad part of town. Yeah.
I was just like, my work's right here. I'm
That's
practical.
really cool.
You know
I
what
love
I mean?
that.
I was practical. The only other white guy in there was a security guard. Was this big, close your eyes, picture Texas Bubba with a shotgun over his shoulder in a police outfit, even though he's not a cop. That was a security guard. Like belt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With his gut coming over the top with the beige shirt and the Texas hat, the Texas police hat thing
Fantastic.
on, and a big ass shotgun. And he's like, "Why'd you move here?" And I'm
boy.
like,
What do you mean?
"What do you mean?"
I like my place. It's
I'm
got
like,
a nice view.
It's a newer complex. It's
Yeah.
clean. People are really friendly, and it's walking
But
distance.
also to put this in context, I mean, this is in the 90s-ish,
This
right?
was the very early 90s, yeah.
So it's like, I mean, racism is pretty much black and white.
It
like,
was very much so. I was just oblivious to it. I was just, you know what? I wasn't comprehending it.
Right. And you grew up in a suburb that was full of diverse
that was
people.
mixed up, mixed everything anyway. So
Right.
I was like, okay. And I thought it was a little strange. And I'm like, there's nobody else here. Like, there's no anybody else here,
Yeah.
And so I'm like, whatever. So, but the guy, the guard is like, you really don't want to be out after night over here. If you hear gunshots, and you will, it ain't in this complex. I keep this complex clean and safe. It's the one across.
I love
and
this
I'm just
story.
like, okay, so, people in the South are weird. I remember the first New Year's there, I was hiding under my bed because people shooting guns into the air everywhere. I'm like, those aren't fireworks. And, oh, man, talk about, that was a culture shock. Just different,
Gotcha.
different weird shit.